As 2.2 million Canadians line up at food banks, a record-smashing number, Mark Carney bails out his condo donor developers in Vancouver and nibbles on $200,000 of in-flight catering on his private jet. More costs, more taxes, more debt. Mark Carney is just another Liberal. The Liberals and the media expect you to judge Mr. Carney, not on his results, but on his many promises and announcements. But it's time to judge the results themselves. It's time to ask, aside from all the illusions, all the words, all the change in style and image, what's really changed? He promised that he would be judged by the price of groceries. They're rising faster than any other country in the G7. He promised to spend less, right before doubling the deficit. Outside of COVID, we now have the biggest deficit in Canadian history and the highest spending as a share of GDP since 1996. He promised that we'd have less bureaucracy right before he added 13 new agencies. He promised more growth right before giving us the only recession in the G7. He promised to handle Trump and negotiate a win. But he's gone from elbows up to sucking up. And Canadians are paying up as American tariffs on Canadian goods have more than doubled and broadened to more goods. A year after he was elected, on the illusion that he would reverse everything he had said and everything his party had done in the prior 10 years, what has really changed in your life? Your grocery prices, your mortgage payments, your debt, have they dropped? Is crime going down in your community? What we've witnessed is a reversal of rhetoric, not a reversal of results. Did you see Mark Carney's confession the other day? He had a big confession. He says that Liberals will not meet their emissions reduction targets. And somewhere, we're all shedding a tear for Stephen Guilbeault. But, you know, at least some people bring happiness wherever they go. Some people bring happiness whenever they go. Mr. Carney was honest that he won't be able to reduce the emissions the way he planned, or the way he said he would. So let's be honest about some other things. He pretends that he inherited this anti-oil and gas agenda from someone else. But for a decade, he was the worldwide CEO of the anti-oil and gas agenda. He built his entire persona on net zero. In fact, he claimed that fossil fuel-caused climate change was a, quote, existential crisis. In plain English, that means, he said, that if we kept using oil and gas, the world would come to an end. He was the UN's special climate envoy, publishing a report calling for us to keep 2/3 of our oil and gas in the ground. As Trudeau's economic advisor, he advised bigger and broader carbon taxes. He founded a banking alliance that was dedicated to starving our industry of financing. As Brookfield's CEO, his job was to use his political influence as a corporate power broker to get government handouts for heat pumps and so-called green energy that killed jobs and drove up the cost of living for the people. Now he's claimed he's changed his mind. Look, there's lots of flip-flops in politics, right? People changing their minds on various things. But imagine going in a matter of 4 years from claiming that oil and gas is going to end the world to claiming that you don't even have to meet your emissions targets at all. It raises the question of whether he believed any of it in the first place, or whether the agenda was something else. Of course it was something else. They spent $200 billion on this climate agenda over the last 10 years. And now we want our money back. $200 billion out the door, and whoops, well, it wasn't really a good policy after all. We know that the policy was never really about the climate. It was always about driving up costs for the working class to concentrate the benefits for the privileged few. And if he's really changed his mind, why is his government still blocking 500 projects? Why is it that he plans to raise the industrial carbon tax by 500%? Why hasn't he used the unprecedented powers in C5 to approve a single project? Why won't he get rid of C69? And why won't he get rid of the tanker ban? Why is he allowing American... Get rid of the tanker ban now! Blocking Alberta oil from our Pacific waters while allowing American tankers to use those same waters, my friends, is an anti-Alberta and an anti-Canadian policy. And all of this, but don't worry, there will be another crisis. He will sound the alarm, and once again, he will have exactly the same solution as for the last crisis. More government control, more taxes, more crony capitalism, and more carve-outs, bailouts, and handouts for the Liberal insiders. They create a problem, and then they claim to be a solution to that problem. For example, they drive up our food costs with taxes and red tape, then create new government programs to supposedly subsidize affordable food. They drive up housing costs with bureaucracy and taxes on home building, and then they create a brand new housing agency that's supposed to subsidize home building affordability. They impose carbon taxes on steel makers and then bring in subsidies for steel makers. As the great Ronald Reagan says, if a Liberal sees something that moves, he taxes it. If it keeps moving, he regulates it. When it stops moving, he subsidizes it. Which raises the question, why not just do none of the above and get out of the way and let things move? Why not let the builder build, the worker work, the investor invest, the farmer farm, the trucker truck, the manufacturer manufacture? The answer is, because then there would be no role for the Liberal politician. No power, no control, no permit to authorize, no check to hand out. If you could just launch a business, produce resources, grow food, build homes, then the Prime Minister and his club of insiders would be irrelevant within their castle walls. And that brings us to why we are conservatives. We do not want to run people's lives. In fact, if we were founding a new political party, and we're not, but if we were, it would be called the Mind Your Own Damn Business Party, wouldn't it? We want to fight to give power back to the common people, for the many, not the few, to put money back in people's pockets, control in their hands, and hope in their lives, to get the government out of the way, off the backs and by the sides of those who work hard, pay their taxes, and play by the rules. We have three main priorities: affordability, affordability, and affordability. The government is the single biggest and fastest growing cost in people's lives. People spend more on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. And that does not include the indirect inflation tax. We are fighting government waste and overspending. We're fighting to cut bureaucracy, consultants, and corporate welfare, to end the handouts to fake and phony refugees, to cut foreign aid, because it's time we took care of our own people right here in this country. We're fighting to end the $90 billion Alto rail catastrophe, which seeks to send the money of Alberta taxpayers for a train that, if it ever gets built at all 15 years from now, 95% of Canadians will not even use, and a joint multi-partisan study showed will not take a single car off any highway, will just take people out of money-making airplanes and put them into money-losing trains. We'd rather put that money in your pocket. With savings that we get from canceling these wasteful projects, we will use to bring down debt, taxes, and inflation so Canadians can afford a great life. We'll end the GST on used vehicles. We'll fight to cancel all gas taxes for the rest of the year. And we'll permanently end the industrial carbon tax so that we can grow more of our energy production. We want to cut taxes on food production, home building, energy, investment, and work to bring down costs and bring growth up.